This video will be an introduction to reflexive verbs, or ся verbs. We will sometimes see reflexive verbs as we learn vocabulary. This video is just meant to be an introduction so that you know what some of the sources of the meaning of reflexive verbs are. We will look at them as a phenomenon themselves at a later date. What are reflexive verbs? In Russian, they're easy to identify because they end in ся. Why are they called reflexive verbs? It's because the meaning reflects back on the subject of the sentence. Let's look at a couple of examples that we know. Заниматься. We have translated it before as to study, but what it really means is to busy yourself. Они занимаются в библиотеке. They busy themselves in the library. And when we hear that sentence in the context of students, we understand that they're doing homework. The verb учиться. What it really means is to educate yourself. Мы учимся в хорошем университете. We are educating ourselves in a good university. When we take off the ся from учиться, we have another legitimate verb, учить. When we take off ся from заниматься, we also have a legitimate verb, заниматься. It's not true that you can take any ся verb and take off the ся and have a legitimate verb. However, it does happen often enough that you can see the relationship between these. So while учиться means to educate yourself, учить means to educate someone else. Учить, to teach. While заниматься means to busy yourself, заниматься means to busy something else, or in English we might say occupy. So to occupy yourself versus to occupy something. Here we have an example of a Chekhov quote. Умный любит учиться, а дурак учить. Here he's taking the kind of pun that we have учиться versus учить. If we try to translate this into English, it doesn't work as well. A smart person likes to learn, whereas a fool likes to teach. In Russian, the pun works because учить and учиться have the same verb as their root. Here's another example. This is kind of a funny meme. This is from public transport in Russia. It says, «Место не занимать, кондуктором станешь». Don't occupy this seat. You'll become the conductor. Because in Russia, there's oftentimes a designated seat for the conductor of the bus. The person who takes the tickets oftentimes is the one who sits in a special seat. Reflexive verbs can be used in a few different ways. The ones we've sort of seen so far have been action done on self. So to educate yourself, to occupy yourself. Here's an example. Она моет посуду. She washes the dishes. Versus она моется. She washes herself, like her hands or her face. Reflexive verbs can also be used for reciprocal action, when someone is doing something with someone else. So, я встречу его завтра в аэропорту. I will meet him tomorrow in the airport. Versus, они встречаются каждый день. They meet each other every day. Reflexive verbs can also be used to show passive action if there's no focus on the agent, meaning no focus on the subject, the person doing something. So, for example, менеджер открывает магазин. The manager opens the store versus магазин открывается в 10 часов. The store opens at 10 o'clock. We're not focusing on who is opening the store. That's not what we're really worried about. The thing that's important to us is that the store opens. It kind of opens itself. Here you have a few examples. Библиотека открывается в 8 часов. А кто открывает библиотеку в 8 часов? Разве это важно? Наверное, библиотекарь открывает библиотеку в 8 часов. The library opens at 8 o'clock. Who opens the library? Is that really important? Probably the librarian opens the library. When we're focusing not on the person doing the action, but that the action is being done, sometimes we will use a reflexive verb. Лекция начинается в 9 часов. А кто начинает лекцию? Профессор, конечно. The lecture starts at 9 o'clock. Who starts the lecture? Of course, the professor. Or if you're in Russian public transport, you'll hear this. Осторожно, двери закрываются. Be careful, the doors are closing. Кто закрывает двери? Никто, они сами закрываются. Who closes the doors? Nobody closes them. They close themselves. Remember that reflexive verbs act just like other verbs, except that they have this ending. So we have to make our verb agree with the subject, just like we would any other verb. And then we have to be sure to remember to put the ending s or ся back on. How do we decide s or ся? Remember that if the ending on the verb ends in a vowel, like here, you, then we'll add s. Whereas if it ends in a consonant, like here, we'll add ся.